California. California Soul, like the ending
Like the song.
film where the sun comes out every day.
I lived there once. It's a glorious place.
Did you really? Which area?
I lived in West Hollywood. I was there for the riots, the fires, the floods, and the earthquake. So we
Ooh,
only stayed 3 or 4 years.
you got the rough stage.
Rough patch, but I like living there. Going to the beach at the weekend is a great treat.
It is. I'm actually in Sherman Oaks, just over the hill.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Thank you. Well, Barnaby, let's talk about Pixie.
Sure.
Uh, so tell me how, I mean, I understand that you got involved because your son is actually the writer.
Yeah, that's right. Which is unusual, but he he'd written one movie before, and he and I were taking. We had some time to kill, so we went. I'd made some films in Ireland early on in my career, so I've always loved the west of Ireland. So he and I went on a road trip down the west of Ireland, and we didn't talk about movies. He didn't pitch me anything, but it clearly inspired him to go away and write Pixie. And so then he gave it to me, and I'd been looking for something to direct, and I sort of started reading it as a father, and sort of finished reading it as a director. And so it had all the elements of a movie that really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm. And yes, one of the things I was going to say and mention was the cinematography of Ireland. I mean, it's beautiful. The way you just capture this beautiful Greenland. But also in reference to your shooting, I noticed that there was a lot of like close shots when it came to the cast. What were you aiming for?
Well, it's interesting you noticed that. I think that um, because in a way the story came out of that landscape, in sort of in the sense that that's what inspired Preston, and it certainly is what inspired me. It was very much the landscape was always a key part of the movie as a character of the movie.
Mhm.
But equally, there was something about these three kids making their we wanted three very modern kids making their way across this landscape. So to juxtapose huge shots by quite tight shots seemed to be a way of sort of capturing these people within this vast landscape, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. And then let's jump into the cast right now that you mentioned the kids. You had a phenomenal cast. I mean, you had some of like the veterans like Baldwin. You had Colm, that's done so many movies. Can you
Yeah,
tell us about this?
sure. I mean, it was for me, it's a dream because on the one hand, we had all these guys who are, the best in the game. Colm Meaney, Alec Baldwin, Dylan Moran, Chris Wally, great character actors. And then we had these three wonderful, they're reasonably well known, but they're sort of up and comers
Mhm.
in the center of it. And I think that juxtaposition was really exciting. And it was, Olivia, obviously, who's the center of the film, is
Mhm.
just dynamite, and she is, she's literally the only girl in it. I think there's one or two others, and she has this very commanding presence, and she has a cheeky strength, which um, just seemed a very uh, interesting and powerful opposite to all these men,
Mhm.
and which was one of the exciting things about the script was I think the idea that the whole story was driven by it's a story that was normally be a very male story, but this was one driven by the female protagonist, and Olivia completely filled those boots.
Um, what was one of the scenes that you enjoyed filming the most?
Well, I don't want to ruin the film for anyone, but obviously the big scene at the end.
Mhm.
I'd never shot anything like that before, so it was very scary, but also incredibly exciting. And to feel it's when you shoot those kind of scenes that you really feel like you're a movie director. And to have all that cast in the same place and all the, and all the action and the shooting and the bombs, and so that was very exciting. But also I loved shooting the landscape, taking them out into the wilderness and shooting these landscapes, because that was, and the beach, the beach scene.
Hmm.
That day we went and it rained for about 6 hours, and just at the moment when we thought all hope was lost, there's just the sun came out and we had this glorious, beautiful evening. So being out in the elements is something that's always appealed to me when it goes your way. So that they were fun too.
Yes, what the big action scene with a lot of stuff going on was definitely a good scene. I appreciated the slow motion because sometimes with these action scenes, it seems like there's so much going on so quick, the viewer kind of misses, and appreciates a lot of it. So
Right.
I really like the fact that you threw in some slow scenes.
Yeah, no, I'm a sucker for that. It looks so good on the big screen.
Indeed. And then also one of my favorite scenes, and one of the few female characters that's in it, you have this gal that plays Olivia, that plays Summer O'Brien, Pixie's
Right.
sister. And one of my favorite scenes is the one where they're in the kitchen, Pixie arrives, and you have the dad cooking, and they have this conversation that it kind of touches a few, ongoing topics in reference to kind of like bullying, or being mean to these slightly um, heavier tone bodies. Can you talk about that scene?
Sure. I mean, one of the challenges of the movie is that there's a lot happening all the time, and at the heart of it is this family. Really, it's a family drama that spins out of control, and so, but there's only one scene where all the family are together, which is that scene. So we had to capture the dynamics between Summer and Pixie and the dad and Mickey, the brother, all within a very short space of time. And so it was. I mean, so I think it's one of the scenes that where Preston did some of his best writing, because you get the sense that um, the dad is, he's a single dad. He's got three kids. They're all clearly, fighting with each other all the time, and all he really wants to do is cook, but he's a gangster, so he's constantly his son wants desperately to be, a bigger, badder gangster than his dad, and so you've got all this marvelous stuff going on, and and Summer is clearly, a junior gangster in training,
Yeah,
so
hilarious.
he just wants a quiet life.
That's hilarious. And had she how did you get cast Olivia? I looked her up, but I didn't see anything that she else that she's been in.
Well, she's been in a few. She was in Bates Motel, that show on TV, and she's been in a lot of independent movies.
Okay.
And I mean, they were mainly American films. I thought she was American, but actually, I discovered that she comes from Manchester in England, and she was in Vanity Fair on television, playing Becky Sharp, and that was the thing which I really looked at, and I thought, ooh, she had that same cheekiness that I was looking for, and fortunately, she responded to the script, and we got together.
Actually, she was one of my other like favorite characters. Although she was like she wasn't in the movie most of the time, but I actually liked her. She had this sense of a charismatic personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then also when so going back to working with your son as the writer, was there an advantage to that? Was there any time when you guys were shooting where you're like, oh, maybe we should make a slight change here or there?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that first of all, as family, you can be much straighter with each other. So um, we were very good and clear about the things that we agreed, and we agreed about most things. But if there were things we disagreed about, we were very clear about that. And he came and was on set throughout the shooting, and the writers often aren't on set. And I found it very reassuring to have him there. There's another set of eyes looking at things, and also, if a bit of dialogue wasn't working, he could come up with something new. And I think the actors liked having him there as well. And so, it was a really golden experience. I think for both of us, it was. I mean, you never imagine that that's going to happen. That you're going to work with your kids. So when it turns out to be the case and it goes well, it's really, it's a dream.
Does that mean you guys will have future projects together?
Yeah. So he's just written something that we're setting up now, hopefully to shoot later on this year, which is a thriller set in France.
Ooh, exciting.
South of France. Nice.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for your time and talking about Pixie. I actually rented the film to watch it.
Oh, good.
I have contributed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I loved it. I love the dark comedy. To me, I prefer it. That's my preferred comedy, to be honest. The dark, it's the silly, the a little bit of cynicism. It's nice. It's appreciated.
Right. Okay, well, we'll do another.
Yes, looking forward to it. Thank you so much.